guess as we lead into, go over to the director, is there any questions, comments yesterday, any check-ins you wish to do, or you just want to get right into it? Get going? All yours, Director.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome back. Thank you. So we ended off with Arena yesterday, so we'll just start back up with that. So we do have quite a bit of revenue associated with the Arena department. The first line there is advertising. It has gone up from 22 to 24. Admissions is, we got rid of that line. It really isn't used that much. The next one is ice rentals. We are keeping it the same this year at $215. The next rentals and leases is for meeting rooms at $7,500. That is also unchanged. Dry surface rentals has gone up from $30,000 to $45,000 this year. So that's like your lacrosses, anything on the sheet of ice without the ice, effectively. And the last one would be the leases for $12,000. So those are the rentals of the office spaces in there, the concession stand, things like that. We do see that Red Deer County contribution increase this year to $192,965. And we don't have that transfer to reserve out of this department this year. That was for an operating project last year. We do have our salaries and part-time wages for arena staff at the arena. Staff development and training remains unchanged, travel and subsistence, telecommunications, membership fees, that is for the RFP. Equipment repairs and maintenance hasn't changed. Vehicle repairs and maintenance just slightly went down to $5,000. Contracted services, this is where ice painting comes out of, arena board cleaning, the security for the building. Supplies and goods went down from $18,000 to $14,000. And most other things kind of stayed pretty static. Electricity did go up from $90,000 to $100,000 as well. There is no operating project this year. Last year was for the arena sprinkler system. That is not identified in 2025 budget. Any questions at the arena? Okay, we'll move on to the aquatic center. Or, sorry?
I have one little question.
Absolutely.
When I look at the natural gas line, so do we put all the carbon tax over on a carbon tax line?
Yes, so we don't attribute carbon tax to the individual department lines.
Thank you.
So while we recognize that the pool is kind of, the pool department is in question, we did operate this department that it would be open for a full year. So as things change, we will have to come back to you with a different department allocation. But right now, it is budgeted for that it would be open for a full year. So we do have first line of admissions that is going down from $45,000 to $40,000. Lesson fees remain the same. Season tickets, so those are things like your yearly passes, things like that. That remains the same. Aquafit tickets has increased from $1,000 to $2,500. Vending machine stays the same. Rentals and leases is going down. So this is the rental of the room there and any private rentals of the pool itself. Then we do have the Red Deer County contribution similar to the arena, where it did increase to $192,966. This is where we see the biggest brunt of our part-time staff. Most of our part-time staff do work out of the arena, or out of the aquatic center, sorry. So you can see those items there. Staff development and training remains unchanged. However, travel and subsistence went down. Registration fees went down a little bit. Telecommunications remains the same. This is for all of their phone lines, as well as any of the music fees that they pay to play music out at the pool. We do have an operating project for basin repairs, and again, we are operating that this would be open for the full year. We won't do this project and the capital project for the aquatic center at the same time. We will do one or the other.
I can give a little context. Basin repairs is maybe a little bit misleading because it's the, so the drains where the pool, when the pool's drained, the sort of sumps at the bottom need to be resealed, as well as the skimmers around the edges need to be replaced, is what the actual work is that project includes.
Director Vickers, what's the thought process behind admissions and rentals and leases decreasing?
So a lot of that revenue did come from the department and what their expectation was for rental fees for the next year.
I'm just curious why it would be decreasing from this year, like,
So it's decreasing just because it's more what we're seeing for actual costs. Okay, is there any other questions on the pool?
Yeah, I feel silly asking a question about so little, but, so we have a vending machine revenue there, but I don't see any vending machine revenue over at the arena, and there's more vending machines.
So the vending machine at the arena is through a contract, I can't remember what the company is, that the vending machines are there and they do, the one at the, pool, they operate themselves, they buy and they stock the stuff in it, so it's accounted for a little bit differently.
Maybe we should consider that at the arena. Where are they hidden in the arena? Are they in the leases and stuff? Because
Yeah, I'm not sure where the revenue shows, we can look.
because we have significant other leases. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it because it's so small. It just kind of stood out to me. Thanks.
We'll check on that for sure.
Could that be due to the, having a concession at the arena? Because you don't impact the contract that's held in regards to concession?
Yeah, I know vaguely way back when the concession was minor hockey, it had no connection to the vending machine, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's a private contract because they have that stuffed animal claw thing at the arena and those things as well. But when we removed the pop machine from the library, it was part of the same contract as with the arena for that supplier. So.
It's just something somebody could look at it, just to make sure it's all clean.
Okay, so we'll move on to cultural programs and facilities. So the revenue at the front, so the first line under 4560, rentals and leases, that is the rental revenue that we receive from the Kemp House. So the annual revenue for that is $7,500. It has decreased just because we did move some things around. There was still some library revenue that was allocated in that line, so we've moved that to the library budget. So it looks like it's decreased, but we just reallocated it to a different area. The next rentals and leases under 4563 is for the curling club lease at $5,000. The rentals and leases for $26,000, that has been reallocated to the library. Miscellaneous revenue is the senior center rent that we receive, and so that is identified there. And then we do have some Red Deer County contribution that comes to this department in the amount of $16,500. So we do have some part-time staff here as well as some full-time staff. Our staff development and training, travel and subsistence, registration fees remain unchanged. Telecommunications did go from $2,000 to $4,000 this year. Membership fees went from $300 to $900. We are not doing an operating project out of this department this year. Tourist booth expenses did just reallocate into the building repairs and maintenance line item. It was kind of, I think it was double, it was on both line items last year, so we just kind of cleaned that up for this year. And we can see that building repairs and maintenance, it did go from 194 to 195. This is for all building repairs and maintenance across all town facilities that our facility manager will manage. Supplies and goods is unchanged. Janitorial supplies goes up slightly to $2,500. However, the utilities did go down. Natural gas stayed the same. Electricity goes up a little bit, and the transfer to the reserve intended for the curling rink comes out of this department as well.
and can you go over salaries again, Director Vickers?
Sure. Let me go. I'll pull up the exact. Like, what would your question be, Mayor Barclay? Would you like to know whose salary is in there, how many staff?
I guess just the difference between last year, this year, 2024, 2025.
So it's reallocating different staff to different departments. So it does look like a big decrease. but they're just
Increase.
different staff to this department than other departments.
Okay.
Would you like me to look into what that specific difference
No,
is?
I just see
or-
an increase, right?
Yes.
It's almost 25%, just wondering
Yes,
how that.
Mayor Barclay, it's not more staff, it's just a reallocation, yeah.
Could you just quickly list off what all facilities are in this? Like,
What facilities are
yeah,
there?
So any building, so all of our lift stations, all of our reservoirs, all of our shops, this building, the fire hall, any town-owned building would come out of this. The Kemp House comes out of this line yeah.
Okay,
The repairs
good.
and maintenance for all lines. We do have projects for each specific building that we track against this line item too, so that we balance the total dollar value by the individual projects, I guess.
so it's for every facility that doesn't have its own tab.
So it's for, so all the tabs, all the building repairs and maintenance was taken out of all the individual tabs and
Oh,
put into
even-
this one line item.
Even the arena and the
Yeah.
pool? and-
Yes.
Oh, okay.
We are still tracking it by facility in our project base, in our finance software, our projects. So we still have a detailed departmental breakdown, but it's coming out of one line item.
So that would really explain a lot of the salary question too, I would think.
So, and one of the salary one, we did move one part-time staff to a full-time staff, so you can see the decrease in part-times for the custodian, so that's some of that part of that reallocation
No,
there.
thank you, I didn't realize it was everything.
Yeah.
Last year we did the
Okay, and then we'll move on to library. So we do have two new lines this year because we did reallocate the library revenue to this department. So that first line, that rentals and leases, is really that's the Henday Association, so that's the rental of those rooms that are in the library. The next line under 4565, those are rentals for the LLC room specifically. So if someone has a wedding or anything like that, that will come out of there. And then we do receive a Red Deer County contribution specific to the library, so that does come in this line in the amount of $10,980 as well. So we do have some, a little bit of salaries in here for some staff for the maintenance of the facility. Contracted services is in there, and that would be just the security system monitoring for the building. Utilities went up a little bit this year. Natural gas, electricity, and grants to others all remained the same for 2025.
Hi. So Director Vickers, there's no number for 2024 in the LLC rental?
Mayor Barclay?
previous
Yes.
tab.
It was in the previous tab because
Okay.
it was originally identified in the facility department. We have reallocated it to this department.
Okay,
It was $26,000 in 2024.
okay,
So it has gone down to $20,000.
okay. And then with respect to the library and security, there's a security system. Has there been discussion around cameras being installed on?
So we're actually in the process of having a conversation about cameras at all of our facilities because we have facilities, we don't have a common provider, and
Okay.
it's sort of each facility kind of set up their own. So we're in the process of trying to streamline that and bring all of our security cameras under one contract, and then that would be when we start to talk about additional cameras as well.
Okay.
Okay, Mayor Barclay, that was the final tab for the operating. Is there any questions you have on this or any other sheet?
I don't know, we can do it later, or we could go in camera for a moment, or we can do it later.
That's up to you, whatever you would like.
It's up to you guys, don't want to wreck the flow of the day, so,
No, it's up to you.
okay. Well, let's go in camera now, because Ron's not here, and maybe he comes, and I don't want him showing up, and then we
Okay, is everyone ready to get going on the capital side? We're actually going to start with a video of our 2024 capital projects. Juanita, are you able to click the play button down there on the bottom? Yeah. Okay. All right, perfect. So we'll now get going into our capital budgets. So we do have a total of 16 different projects that we are presenting to council for consideration this year. It does have a total cost coming from the 2025 budget of $21,249,219. We do, however, have $1.1 million that was approved in the 2024 budget, so that is a carryover from those two projects. We do have LGFF funding in the amount of $1,265,000 and CCBF funding in $515,000. We do have two projects that are identified in the other debenture kind of line. That is the Napoleon South Land Development for $4.5 million and the Aquatic Center Modernization for just over $12 million. Those will be in some form of grant funding, revenue from other municipalities potentially, reserve funding, or a debenture. So once we finalize those projects, we'll come to council with more details. So that's kind of why they're just earmarked in that separate line kind of thing. Okay, so the first project is some council chambers upgrades and repairs. So the first thing, we will need to do some upgrades to the equipment in our council chambers. It is essential to improve the efficiency and quality of our council meetings. The current setup, including encoder, camera, TVs, and computers, have become outdated and do require replacement. Enhanced equipment will ensure clearer visuals, smoother presentations, and more reliable connectivity for remote participants, fostering a more engaging and accessible environment. Newer computers with updated software will streamline operations, reduce delays and technical issues, ultimately enhancing the overall experience for council members, staff, and the public. So we are looking to upgrade the monitors or the giant TVs there and here, as well as do a replacement for the TV wall at the back. So that will either be an option of one very large 110-inch TV, or we will actually get a TV wall similar to what we have now, but without the lines in between. It will be a more seamless TV wall. All individual monitors are being upgraded, all the associated hardware. A new high-def camera will also be included. A new encoder for live streaming, including any additional programming. That is a requirement that is coming out of one of the changes to the Municipal Government Act, that we do have to maintain live streaming for certain activities that do happen in council chambers. As well as new computers for the meeting output, which is the clerk station, and then the new computer for live streaming, which is the comm station. Another addition to this project would be upgrades to the desks here in council chambers. So the two desks that we'd be referring to is potentially one's here and that one over on that side. The current desk layout is inadequate, lacking the necessary space and flexibility to accommodate essential technology, documents, materials, and staff. A full design will be prepared in the new year for approval, so that effectively we'll be maintaining this spot for the addition of a potential fourth person, as well as increasing that one for the additional of the communication staff to have a permanent position with a permanent computer that would be in the horseshoe as well. Along with the repairs to this room is we do need to upgrade the sanitary replacement of the line that goes underneath the council chambers here. So when the town office renovation was completed, the sanitary service connection from the front washrooms through council chambers back to the back lane was not fully replaced. So the existing line is aging and present a threat of failure. The line has been inspected via inserting a camera line at the various cleanouts along the line, and deterioration of the pipe has been identified. Sections of the cast pipe are well pitted and other sections are flaking, causing buildup in the bottoms of the pipe, causing potential blockages if the line is not frequently flushed. We have had some blockages where we've had to block usage from those bathrooms because of this line.
Kind of runs right down the middle of
Yeah.
this room.
So what would happen is likely we would coordinate both projects at the same time, and traditionally in one of your council meetings during the summer that likely will get canceled for summer holidays, we would then plan a coordinated project. So we would do, I believe there would be one dig here, one in the back hallway, and one down in the seniors room to repair the line. But that would be disruptful, so we would likely do that, as well as some the electrical upgrades kind of all at the same time, and that would give us like that 3-week window potentially if we manage to book it right, to maintain, so there would be no real gap in service here for council chambers. Did you have a question, Mayor Barclay?
Are you finished or you're?
No.
No, okay.
So there is some foyer concrete ceiling that was identified in the building condition assessment as well. And another addition to that is we would be upgrading we have 3 meeting rooms that have what we call them a click share. So it's, I can take my computer into the meeting and then project it up onto the screen, either for Zoom calls, meeting calls, or even just agenda preparation and showing materials. We do need to go through and upgrade each of our meeting rooms with more upgraded equipment. That equipment has repeatedly failed and really impacted our ability to run successful meetings. So that is approximately about $16,000 or $17,000 to upgrade that for 3 different meeting rooms next year as well. So yes, I am done now.
So I'm curious, do we need 3 screens in here? Like, do we really need these 2 side screens? Because I think most people look up here. It's not a huge room.
So we have identified, and the communications manager has identified that he does see most people who sit in the gallery looking to these 2 side screens. For this person and the camera, they tend to look at that front screen more.
Could they look up here? I mean, if that was the only screen in the room, I just think it's so small in here that.
Yeah.
And I'm also curious, Director Vickers, considering how much technology changes, and how rapidly it changes.
Yes.
Is there opportunities to lease as opposed to purchase, so that 3 years from now, we're not saying, well, the system's outdated and we need to upgrade again?
So this has been presented that we would be purchasing this equipment, and this type of electronic equipment does have a lifespan of 7 to 10 years, so it does need to be on a pretty rapid replacement cycle. We can go back and look further about, is there availability to rent this type of equipment, what
Well,
that
there's some of
cost
it.
would be. Yeah, or even a
Okay,
portion of
yeah.
it, yeah, absolutely.
Just curious, because it does change, right, so
Yeah.
quickly?
There would
and-
definitely still be some costs, and then this would be
Yeah, for
annual
sure.
costs instead of a one-time
Yeah,
cost.
no, I get
And
that.
that cost traditionally would end up being in our operating budget as
Yeah.
a contracted service or something like
Yeah.
that, so.
No, I understand that, just curious if that's an option or beneficial, I guess.
Yes. If we did, sorry, Mayor Barclay, if we did do something with these 2 screens, that would likely cut around that 20,000 off. It's about 10,000 for each screen.
Just further to that, do these screens operate independently? So they are all exactly
No,
the
Mayor
same? So
Barclay,
you
if
can't
you-
have a video or something on
That's
one and not
correct.
the other, so.
As the
yeah.
way it's set up
I
right
agree.
now, they all mimic each other. And I don't know if we did want to do something different, to have a different video on each screen. That would just take more manpower to manage during the
Yeah,
council.
I think that would be the only reason I would suggest we need 3, that's all. Thanks.
Worship.
Yeah, just go, Director Vickers. Just as to the layout of this, are we gonna try to emulate the same setup? I'm assuming we are, like the same look in that, it
Yes,
would
Mayor
look
Barclay.
nice, right?
Yeah, Mayor Barclay through to Councillor Heistad, we have the same like stat number for everything. It would look identical. It would
Okay,
just be an
that's good.
extension. Yeah.
Yeah, I just think you just don't want it to, if we're gonna do this, I think it looks uniform and it looks complete, right?
Absolutely.
As to the technology in that, yeah, I can see where it's outdated and that. For me personally, I think those side screens do provide it allows people to see sitting up front. I could see where they're looking over to the side. And I'm not, wherever we land on this, because people at the back there they can't see anything as well, like in the very back, so wherever we land with this, it's not I'm good with what we decide as a team. Yeah. Yeah. So you can cut 20K out.
So question on the sewer line replacement, where does it start? Like,
It's a line that comes from those front bathrooms.
is
and-
it, are you digging right in the bathrooms or just
No.
outside them or?
It's a relining type of process, so they'll have to do a couple of access points and
But
then they're
not-
able to do the work. Yeah.
Well, get to it, not right in the bathroom. And the reason I ask that is I would suggest a project years down the road that you redo the men's bathroom and get rid of one of the toilets and put in urinals and you'll save a ton of water. Just a suggestion.
Okay, we do have some concerns about this back TV wall. We have had one of the TVs already go out and they are not being built anymore, so we had to find and source out a repairman to come in and repair this. And the reason that it's impactful is whichever one of the TVs kind of stop, it's a cascading failure. So if the first one goes, all the rest will go. If the second to last one goes, then it's that last one. So it's hard for us to find parts for this TV wall now, as they don't actually make anything for it. And the last time we did have to repair it, it was quite expensive for us. So we are at a point where if it does go, we're likely losing that TV wall at this point, and it will just be that kind of black wall as well.
I guess that goes back to my point of potential lease, right? Like, what are
Absolutely.
we, 10 years old in here, 12 years old? And
That's right.
now that's obsolete, and I know you've had so many challenges with the different technology and trying to sync everything, and
Yes, and now with the new changes coming from the MGA, it's
Yes,
more of a
yeah.
legal requirement that we must maintain
Yes.
for certain things,
Yeah.
like the public hearings, but.
so can you also kind of track that cost, Director Vickers, because, again, this is being forced on us, some of this, and we can put it into the same pile as like election costs?
Right, okay.
Thank you. And are you able to, like, do you know that it's $20,000 less? Like, that
Well, for
makes
each
sense to you?
TV, just the quote that we have,
Yeah.
it's $18,561 that
Okay.
would be invoiced for those two TVs.
Okay, thank you.
Plus, there might be a minor install charge that we would also get credit for as well, so roughly around that 20,000 mark we could save. This back TV is much, much more expensive, around the 50,000 mark for that TV wall. 50, yeah. Yes. It all depends on sizing, right? It depends on how big you want. The biggest TV that we can get is around 110 or 100-inch TV. It's quite a bit smaller than that. So it depends on how much, like how big you want that space to be filled. We could potentially do a smaller TV, maybe put kind of an Innisfell logo on top or something, but
Well, we want people to be able to see it,
Yes.
but is that overkill? I don't know. Like, well, I guess we'll let communications and everybody figure that out. But
yeah, the TV wall that we're being quoted would be a 136-inch kind of display for that 53,000.
Director Vickers, do we know like in Calgary Council Chambers or others, do they ever use projection, or is it always a TV that's up there?
So we've looked at using a projection here, but because we have this sunlight, or
Gotcha.
this thing here, it won't actually show anything on the screen.
Okay.
And we'd have to put it on that side, so, but then it would be not,
Small,
it
okay.
would be too close.
Okay.
So we need to put it like back here or even there, but then once it goes through that sunlight, sometimes when it's really sunny, or even on a day like today, it would be not functional for us. So we have looked into that already, because that would be likely cheaper.
Is there a possibility of having some kind of automatic blind?
We'd have to
I'm
do
just
a
thinking
damper
about-
or some type of a light damper and close that off while we're in council chambers when we have an active meeting open. So it's something we could explore, either a permanent close or something that would move open and close potentially, but
Cause I know some of the new 4K projector TVs are, I mean, they're down to like $1,000, $1,500, which is a substantial saving and much easier to swap out too. Just idea.
I'm also curious if we save some money here on screens, would there be a discussion around doing something different at the library? Because we know when the sun shines in those windows, it's impossible to see the screen when somebody's doing a presentation. And-
that right now isn't currently in the budget, but if
Yeah.
you would like us to explore that and add it in, that's something that we can explore. Are you talking about like blinds, like electric blinds that would come down?
Well, the
a
blinds
bit?
or even the screen, like if we had a different
Okay.
type of screen and system in there, and even the microphone, like that whole system to me is not great anymore. And like I know what Councillor Harrison's celebration of life, the microphone was up as high as it would go, and you need to be talking right into it. Just been to several things there, and it's always difficult to see a PowerPoint on that screen.
Yeah. Definitely it is something that we can look at, that will likely come from Director Jenkins and the facilities manager. That likely may not be something that we can get into budget this year, but definitely we can start exploring that and developing what kind of project, what that would look like, and bring it back to council at some point, if not next year, or for next year's budget, for sure. Okay, so if there's no more questions on this one, we will move on to the fire hall washer and dryer replacement. So that is the washer, and then the dryer is beside it. We do have to replace our current washer and dryer at the fire hall because they don't comply with NFPA standards for washing and drying the bunker gear, right? We do have to protect the bunker gear in a certain way so that it maintains its fire retardant to protect our staff members. So we do have the washer, and then this is kind of the new type of dryer that's required for those pieces of equipment or the pieces of clothing to wear. So this does cost $15,000, and it will be funded from our infrastructure capital maintenance and repair reserve. These should have a lifespan of 7 to 10 years as well. We'll move on to a radio base station for Unit 106. So one of our peace officers currently uses a handheld portable radio for communications with other agencies and monitoring for different channels. Operations on a separate VHF unit base station will reduce confusion and improve operational communications at larger incidences. So this is $8,000, also funded by infrastructure capital maintenance and repair. This has a life cycle of between 10 and 15 years for this piece of equipment. Okay, we do have a 2025 surface improvement project on the works for our budget 2025 as well. There is currently 4 different priorities that come out of this section, and it is costing $925,000, and we have identified LGFF as the funding source. So the different projects, so the first one is the road rebuild on 57th Ave between 47th Street to 37th Street, and 37th Street from 56th Ave to 57th Ave. This includes milling replacement and new sections of curb, road restructuring, and paving, and the estimated cost of this specific section is $550,000. We have a secondary road rebuild on 48th Street from 47th Ave to 46th Ave, And this will include new sections of curb and sidewalk, road restructuring and paving, and that cost is $150,000. There will be a lane rebuild at 36A Street, so this would include milling, reshaping, structure, and paving for a cost of $150,000. And then we have some trail rebuilds in Centennial Park through various locations, estimated cost at $75,000. So we do have a map here with these specific sections in it.
Just a little extra detail in regards to the trail repair. We are applying for TCT grant application for that one to get covered because it is part of our Trans-Canada Trail Network. With any luck, that would cover about 60% of the project if we get the grant application, we're successful, which in the past we've gotten every grant from them, so we're optimistic we'll get that trail repair grant application. And then in regards to just a little extra detail on 57th Ave and 37th Street road rebuild. I know in the past we've delayed this project, especially 37th Street because of the need to replace the water line along that section. We did look at our utility strategy, and the upgrade for that water line is probably 20 years down the road, so we said, well, let's move ahead with the road surface project. And then when the need to replace that, to upsize the water line, we will then look at it at that time. So that's the primary reason that became a priority on the surface, because it is highly rated as a need on our surface improvements. And then 48th Street Road rebuild, it's actually a back lane status kind of right now. So we are looking to upgrade that, include a sidewalk for connectivity, and it would be a one-way road as well, so.
Okay, we'll move on to our 2025 concrete and asphalt crushing.
I just wanted to ask a question on that last one. So the explanation on the 37th Street, so what portion is that? So is that the one that's included in the $550,000?
Correct.
So what portion of that would you be potentially tearing up again in 20 years?
Just the section on 37th Street. The water main itself is actually along the boulevard on 57th Ave, so.
So would it be 20% of it or 30% of it or?
In relation to, it's maybe 50%. But given that our roadway's lifespan on pavement is 20, 25 years, it makes sense to do it now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so our next project is our 2025 concrete and asphalt crushing. So the town does collect concrete from sidewalk and curb and asphalt millings from the capital and operating projects for a couple years. They are stacked in 2 piles, and every 5 years the material is crushed into piles used for road structures, lanes, and parking lots. Approximately 9,000 cubic meters of material will be crushed, and the estimated cost of that is $150,000. However, if we would have purchased this from a contractor, the cost would be anywhere from $200,000 to $250,000. So we are seeing savings of $50,000 to $100,000 for this as well. This is going to be pulled out of the infrastructure, capital maintenance, and repair project.
We do not have a crusher, no. It would be a contracted service. Yep.
Maybe that could be a demo,
A demo, sorry?
a demo from a local business.
Well, interesting enough, we did actually have a bow ringer actually did a sample crushing over in there to demo one of their crushers, so it just, they didn't want to do it very long, so.
Yeah. Okay, so our next project is the 42nd Avenue Sanitary Force Main and Water Main Replacement. So this project was initially brought before council last year, where a portion was approved last year in the amount of $1 million. We did a review, realized based on the standards of that project, it was did balloon out to $1,750,000, so we did carry it over to this year. So yeah, through the detailed design, it was determined that the alignment of the sanitary force main had to change at the rail crossing, which created the replacement of the water main. The force main has had multiple repairs, and during the last repair, the condition of the pipe was found to have a large amount of pitting, showing which indicates significant deterioration. The water main is a 150 millimeter ductile iron pipe, approximately 50 years old, and will be upsized to accommodate future growth. And that's where a picture of this one is, so you can kind of see where that is here. Okay, we'll move on to 40th Street infrastructure replacement. So the existing 200 millimeter ductile iron water main has had three breaks along this section within the last 2 years. The last inspection did show significant pitting along the bottom of the pipe. A portion of the 200 millimeter VCT sanitary main was lined in 2021. The design includes replacement of the water main and services to the property line. Lining of the sanitary main and services to the property line. Selective replacement of sidewalks, replaced with millings for 1 year. So the design and tendering will be completed in the spring of 2025 with construction during the summer of 2025. So the total cost of this one is $750. So we do have this broken out in a few different areas. So LGFF will be funding $140,548. It will be receiving all of CCBF's funding at $515, $183, and the balance remaining to come out of reserves, the infrastructure capital maintenance and repair, in the amount of $94,269. And there you can see the map for that repair as well.
The question for both those last two projects, do they get replaced with some new alternate material, or are they?
Yeah. Yeah, both projects will be upgraded, so the existing line is a ductile iron water main. It'll be upgraded to PVC. And then the force main is a ductile iron force main as well. That one will be upgraded to HDPE, so high density polyethylene.
Okay, we do have a project for the Sunterra lift station maintenance. So in 2021, an assessment was completed on all the sanitary lift stations to gain an understanding of the conditions and recommended maintenance. The maintenance recommendations for the Sunterra lift station, which is located at 51st Street and 43rd Ave, includes lining the wet well with a spray-on liner. This is expected to have a 15 to 20-year life expectancy. Upgrading the electrical and HVAC components to meet current code standards. Upgrade the piping and install a backup generator. This cost is $200,000 to be funded from LGFF.
To expand a little bit more on this project, so originally we did looking at replacing this lift station like we did the Eastgate lift station. Dollar value wise now to replace a lift station like this with a backup generator is in that $1 million range. Just because of the amount of flow and backup that we need. So what we decided to do is reevaluate our lift station assessments and look at extending life expectancy, as well as upgrading though to get the backup generators is really what the immediate need in regards to our lift stations, so that we're not using the portable as much. So.
Okay, so we'll move on to our hydrovac truck purchase. So we do want to replace Unit 316. It is a 2011 Freightliner Vactor vac flusher truck. It has 24,000 kilometers and 16,500 hours. It is a utilities unit, but it's also used by the public works staff for doing small jobs. This unit is used for many things, from flushing out sewer lines and vacuuming them out and doing utility exposure for water valves, and used on major digs for both water and sewer. The fan system has been rebuilt twice, replaced the cyclone system as well as the main pump, and replaced head gasket on the rear engine. Repairs and maintenance costs since the purchase of this unit is approximately $186,000. The unit freezes up very easily when it's cold out, therefore it doesn't get used very much in the winter, and as it wasn't set up for colder weather. A new unit will be suited for operating in all conditions. So this does cost $750,000, and we have it broken out coming out of two different reserves. One, the utility fleet capital replacement for $342,000, $347,000, and the balance coming out of the fleet capital replacement in $407,653. While yes, this unit is shared by other departments outside of utilities, the reason that such a large amount is coming from the fleet capital is the utility fleet capital reserve will be emptied after this year. So we will have to work slowly to rebuild that reserve over the next couple of years as we look at the equipment and vehicles needed in the utilities department.
Did a little bit more on that one, so we have been starting to adjust this year in regards to the reserve allocations to better accommodate the forecasted replacement for the unit. Typically, it's that 15-year mark, 10-year mark, depending on the unit. We are going to be looking at a more robust unit this time that's better suited for all seasons for the department to better suit the need for what that unit will be.
Can you sell this unit, or how much can you make off it, if anything?
Yeah, no, intent is to auction that unit out. Estimated, it really depends on the market.
Yeah.
It could be in that 100 range, could be 200. Yeah, it depends on the market and what the need is at the time.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, we'll move on to our pickup truck project. So this year is another catch-up year on replacing the old pickup trucks within the fleet. The strategy for the pickup fleet is to maintain a 15-year turnaround. This will reduce maintenance cost and provide higher resale values. After this year, purchases will be down to a more manageable 1 to 2 pickups trucks per year. So we do have 6 units coming out of this project. So Unit 1 is a Public Works truck, Unit 17. An existing unit is from 2006. It has 153,000 kilometers on it. Repair and maintenance costs on this unit is approximately $13,000. The unit will be replaced with a new standard half-ton quad cab 4x4 truck. Budget price is approximately $70,000 for truck and accessories. Unit 207 is a Parks truck. So the existing unit is also 2006 with 223,000 kilometers. Repairs and maintenance costs on this unit is approximately $26,000. The truck will be replaced with the new standard half-ton quad cab 4x4 truck. Again, the price for that is $70,000. Unit 283 is a Parks truck. The existing unit is 1998 with 228,000 kilometers. Repairs and maintenance cost on this unit is approximately $16,000. It will be replaced again with the new standard half-ton quad cab 4x4 for a price of $70,000. We do have Unit 308, which is a utilities truck. Existing unit is from 2005 with 125,000 kilometers. Repairs and maintenance costs on this unit is approximately $17,000. This unit is an economy line van used for camrying the sewer lines. The unit will be replaced with an enclosed trailer that will be more suited for the services it provides and a lower cost. The budget price is $50,000 for the trailer and accessories. Unit 341 is a utilities truck. So the existing unit is from 2010 with 132,000 kilometers. Repairs and maintenance costs on this unit is approximately $18,000. The unit will be replaced with the new standard half-ton quad cab 4x4 truck for $70,000 for truck and accessories. And the last one is the new peace officer truck for our new peace officer. The new unit will be a half-ton quad cab 4x4 SSV truck. The budget price is $85,000 for truck and accessories. This one is a little bit more as it does require the lights and different wrapping, and that is quite costly. So the cost for the 4 pickup trucks are $280,000. The trailer is $50,000, and the peace officer truck is $85,000 for a total value of $415,000 coming out of the fleet capital replacement. Any questions on that?
Is Penhold sharing in the cost of the vehicle at all, or no?
Mayor Barclay, they are not sharing in the cost because it will be our truck 100%, and just the portion of the operating cost is intended to be in that $5,000 a month invoice that we're going to send them. So.
So I guess the immediate question comes to me is, we've been maintaining these and we're getting the dollars that they cost to maintain. Do we estimate that the two best that are in there would cost that much again next year? Can we spread this? I mean, we've just bought 5 this year? Can't remember. How many?
It was 4 units.
4 this year? If we buy 5 now, how many are on the slate for next year?
Yeah, next year and the years after, we're knocked down to that 1 to 2 pickups. Because we are achieving like our policy of the 15-year mark. We do try and stagger that a bit, like it's 15 is our target, 15 years. We have 1 here that is that 15-year, but it is our highest maintenance truck. So we're just trying to get to that policy of achieving that, and then we will get down to that 1 to 2 a year after this year. So it is a big purchase year again, understand, but it is getting to that point where getting rid of these units should reduce our maintenance costs as well. Even though this year we did show in our operating costs, it was more of an increase, but it does take a little bit of time to get the rollout of that and see the benefit of having these units in place. The mileage will always be low because we don't drive them very much, but the target is to try and get them back on the 15-year cycle.
Okay, well,
Yep.
see where we get to with the whole package.
A question about the auction, like these would go to auction as well, right? Do you have an idea what you may get back? Just to give, I think it's good for us to understand that.
Last year, well, again, it depends on the units. These are a bit older. The one that's newer has low mileage, so we should get more for those. We did get decent return on the last ones that we went to Olds, I believe. We went to the Olds auction the last set around. We got decent value, I think, for the vehicles. We were in that 25 total thousand range we got back from the 4 vehicles that we put to auction last year. But yeah, the turnaround, and then again, it goes back to our philosophy with the vehicles. When we start selling the units that are newer, less mileage, we'll get more return. Hopefully start to achieve that as we move this along.
Thanks.
Will you put a RFQ out, Director Kennedy, for like in bulk, like you did last year?
The intent is, yeah, we would do the 4 units,
Okay.
4 pickup trucks as bulk. We would do the SSV unit as a separate unit
Okay.
because it is specific. And then the trailer, obviously, would be a quoted unit.
Okay. And did we get the new peace officer truck? We got one last year, right?
Yep.
Is it here?
It is here, yeah, it's just
Okay.
finalizing I think, just in regards to the radios and stuff, so it's
Okay,
just
yeah.
getting that done.
Okay, we'll move on to the water truck. So unit 284 is a 1997 GMC 3-ton top kick water truck. The unit has been modified from a gravel truck to a water truck and is used across all departments. This unit has become high in maintenance and in hours, and we will sell the old one once the new unit is purchased, replacing with a used water truck unit no older than 2021. The unit was to be replaced last year, and it did come through budget, but we were unsuccessful in finding a unit for the budgeted price, so we did have to increase the budget price to $175,000. So we did have $100,000 carried over from last year, and then we do have $75,000 coming out of the utility fleet capital replacement line. Okay, we'll move on to some projects at the park shop. So there have been a couple of projects identified in the 2023 building condition assessment and reviewed by staff for priority. So there is 7 different sectional panel overhead doors are of insulated metal construction from 1979. The door panels include vision lights comprised of single pane glass. The aged, damaged surfaces and worn finishes recommended are for replacement. Exterior wall surfaces include pre-finished metal siding with vertically corrugated profile. Localized denting and rust along the east elevation recommended for immediate repair. If recommended repair is undertaken, replacement of the system is not anticipated until 2029. So the cost of the overhead doors is $65,000, and the cladding repairs is $10,000, for a total cost of $75,000 to be funded from the infrastructure capital maintenance and repair. So you can see these are actual pictures of the actual asset at our park shop attached here. So you can see that there is some definite need for some repairs there. Okay, we'll move on to the next one at the operations shop maintenance. So again, projects have been identified in our 2023 building condition assessment and have been reviewed by staff for priority. We can see in the top picture there is an isolated cracking on the slab grade with concrete spalling. Isolated to the administration stairwell access area, concrete repair and door repair required. And then we do have the vinyl divider curtain for the wash bay. It's track mounted and manually operated overhead. The partition is worn and stained and in desperate need of some replacements. So the concrete work and the door repair costs $10,000, and then the wash bay curtain does cost $60,000 for replacement, for $70,000 coming out of the infrastructure capital maintenance and repair. And again, those are actual pictures of the shop location.
Director Vickers, just a quick question relative to our asset management plan. Do these buildings have a lifespan noted in our document, in our report, as far as how long we'll be?
So currently, the building condition assessments we had done don't identify that lifespan. That is something when we update, we will be requesting in our, like when we go out and sort of the 5-year updates on all of these plans. But again, that is something we're trying to work into our asset management plan, is that life cycle replacement cost for these facilities.
Okay, so we do have our Napoleon South Land Development Project. So development of the 13 acres of town-owned land for development as commercial and residential properties for sale. Council has been brought forward information around this project for many, many times. Here is the current kind of picture of what it could potentially look like. There is some opportunities for funding. Primarily, it could end up being a debenture funding, as we might have to build out the land before we can sell some of the homes to get repayment back. So we're still kind of working through what that looks like, but there could end up being a debenture for this project.
Yeah, so we've been working with Stantec to do the detailed engineering and costing for the project, and we would be coming back to council with that, essentially the business case, because this should be a project that at the very least breaks even in terms of those development costs, but just the timing of some of that cash flow may require debenture, but it should be a self-funded project overall.
Through the mayor, would this be a two-part presentation to us, separating the residential from the commercial at the bottom?
The way the property's laid out now, the infrastructure would all be installed as a single project. The phasing of it, based on the size of it, doesn't really provide any savings or that ability. So we would be looking at servicing the full area. Again, the way that the design has come, we've landed that north-south roadway. It doesn't make sense to have the north-south roadway through the commercial if it's not going to continue through the residential
Right.
area.
Would we also though get a commitment, like, they're two separate projects in a way, so as to when the bottom end gets completed? And
So we have the letter of intent with the commercial property owner for the first 1 acre, as well as sort of an option on the balance. The residential portion, the town would be pursuing that infrastructure installation with pre-sales of lots to builders.
refresh my memory, which portion is the 1 acre, the first?
The east side of the road.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
May we go in camera for a moment?
That's right, yeah. We can probably figure it out. Get a
Yeah, I was
light
gonna
in
say,
there.
can we get a light?
We can get a
Show
light,
little
red light, on air, in camera. We can probably have it say whatever we want. Okay.
Bridge lock that comes down.
Yeah, lock us in. Are we all good? Juanita? We're good? Okay. Okay, perfect. We'll move on. We have two capital projects left to discuss. So first one is some repairs at our arena. So these projects have been identified in our 2023 building condition assessments and have been reviewed by staff for priority. So there's three different projects in this main project. So the first one is a boiler replacement. The cost of that is $20,000. So there is two natural gas fired heating water boilers in the north furnace room that provide heated water for the Olympia fill and snow melt systems. The units are beyond expected useful life with performance and reliability diminishing. So the next one is repair punctures to the ceiling vapor barrier. So this cost would be $40,000. The building is a pre-engineered steel structure with steel purlins and beams, tapered main beams, columns, and straight leg columns on ends and in the south main entrance. Deficiencies include punctures in the vapor barrier on the blanket insulation at ceiling level. Full roof replacement of the lower area is identified for 2028 with an estimated cost of $375,000, and full replacement of the upper roof is to take place in 2030 with an estimated cost of $2.2 million. So there's also some exterior cladding for $50,000. So the exterior wall surfaces include pre-finished metal siding with a vertically corrugated surface profile. The lower white walls on the south and east walls are damaged and deflected inward such that some of the vertical lap joints are open. The deterioration is anticipated to progress due to age and exposure to the elements and may lead to moisture infiltration, a weakening of integrity, and loss of visual appeal. The current repair will address damaged areas, and a full life cycle replacement of the exterior cladding is identified for 2030 with an estimated cost of $600,000. So the total cost for all three projects is $110,000 and to be funded out of the infrastructure, capital maintenance, and repair. Okay. And our last one is the aquatics.
got a question.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, Councillor Bates.
Flashback in life here. Do we know that damage, is that due to hockey pucks or
I'd say lacrosse balls, but yeah, a lot of it.
is this mostly in the red side or is it mostly in the blue side?
It's mostly on the red side, the south and the east wall of the building.
So a little bit of history. I can remember when the arena was built, Johns Manville was approached for insulation donation, and we worked with our laminator, and the appetite was there to pay for a higher quality product on the blue side, which included a puck stop type product, and the red side didn't get that.
Okay.
So there is a difference between the two, and I don't know who's doing the repair and what they're gonna do it with, but if you don't do it with the right thing, you'll have more holes. That's all.
Okay, perfect. So here is our sheet for the Aquatic Center modernization. So in response to escalating costs and a grant funding opportunity through the Green and Inclusive Community Building Program through Housing Infrastructure and Communities Canada, an investigation of the existing Aquatic Center was completed. This program provides up to 80% of eligible costs for projects that renovate, upgrade, or repair aspects of the building in a manner that improves environmental outcomes. The evaluation included in a depth review of energy consumption, structural integrity, and mechanical functionality. Scope of the eligible projects are the building envelope, roof replacement and roof reinforcement and replacement, exterior block wall repairs, exterior cladding and insulation, windows, doors, and skylights, the HVAC system, boilers, heat pumps, heat exchangers, and ducting, the electrical and fire alarm system, hot tub and steam room replacement. So the GICB eligible cost is $7.9 million. So the GCI portion is $6,330,000, and the town portion would be $5,935,000. Additional upgrades may be desirable at the pool to improve usability, functionality, and aesthetics. Administration will work with the project team to develop a more detailed project scope that will evaluate additional scope and design. So again, the total project cost for this is $12,266,218. So from the facility reserve and debenture costs, for the town's portion is $5,935,682, with coming from the Green and Inclusive Community Buildings grant, $6,330,536.
So Director Vickers, can you bring back to us a schedule on a debenture for 5.9 and payment over,
I'll have to go over there to bring that.
we don't have to do it right now.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
sorry.
sure, okay.
Sorry, I mean, right now. You know, and, you know, over different timeframes.
Okay. So I believe it was a 10-year
Yeah.
estimated time frame at the time we were looking at it. So bringing back like a 10, 15, and 20-year payback and seeing what the anticipated percentage rates would be, what the payments would be, and also what the anticipated interest costs.
Even 25.
25?
And can you do the same on the southwest
Yep.
residential as well?
Yep.
I mean, I realize we're not anywhere near close understanding that whole project for cost, but
Further on that, could we potentially look at like the 5.9 and then maybe an 8 as well? Because if we want to do any changes or additions to it, maybe if we looked at a couple different number values, we could have a better idea as well.
Yep.
well, I think the original budget when we started all this was 20 to build new,
So, okay.
but I don't know, we have to be careful when we've got all these other things on the plate now, so, I don't know.
Well, just
Yeah, just to see, for sure.
Okay, absolutely. We can bring in some more of that information.
And I don't know if you can look at, you know, whether it's mortgage, whether it's line of, well, I guess you don't want to do line of credit on
Line
this.
of
Line of
credit-
credit would be better on Southwest than it would be on this, of course, but,
Yes.
yeah.
A fixed-term mortgage or debenture for this would likely be the cheapest interest rate option for us. A line of credit typically is a floating rate that
Yeah.
you're prime plus a certain percentage. But that would be for, we just want to hold this for 6 months, and we know we have money coming in 6 months that we can
Well,
repay this
it's
back.
interest only. We talked about that on the Southwest Industrial, doing it that way as opposed to being locked into a payment, but, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll move on, and we're going to get into reserves now. So the first side, I just wanted to bring everyone back to that state of infrastructure table that kind of was the basis of all the information that the review that happened from Director Kennedy and his team, and basically what our forecast and what our recommendation is coming from that state of infrastructure memo. And from that memo, it was determined that we are approximately $1.6 million short of annual investment into our reserves to help fund future capital projects. So we can see that our current reserve and investment is approximately $2.4 million in the future with our anticipated aquatic center reserve savings. So then we have our net reserve investment into our budget, because we don't want to account for the aquatic center as that's just one single project. So our forecasted 10-year capital plan, those are the dollars that we anticipate the need to pull out of reserves based on our current 10-year capital plan. And then we see our difference in reserve savings, and that 5-year average is that $1.6 million. So we did provide council a recommendation of what we thought was an easy increase to balance up that to $1.6 million. And we were looking at, or we were asking for a 2% increase per year. This year, that 2% equates to around that $202,000. And if we were to start in 2025, it would take us to 2033 to balance out that investment of reserve. So because we would be low, the next couple of years will have to be impacted as we don't have enough money in reserves to kind of pull out until we get up to this kind of level. So here's our current reserve allocations, so for budgeted additions and budgeted projects. So if you do see that $105,000 coming out of contingency, those are those efficiencies that we were able to find in the 2024. Through the surplus, we will have to allocate that $105,000 to go into the contingency reserve, so that it is there for us to pull out in 2025. We do see that money going into general capital, that 186, that is coming from the garbage department to pay back for those garbage carts. And then we see the rest of the reserve additions based on the required capital projects. And that's the last slide I have. Done? Okay, so where would council like to go now? What would council like to discuss?
Well, I don't know, can we, Councillor Bates will love me for this, can we talk about franchise fees
Yes, we can.
and kind of go back to, I know you are. You're okay to talk about it.
Yeah, what would you like to talk about franchise fees? Or do you want me to pull up that sheet again?
Yeah,
Okay,
can
I'm
we just go
gonna
back
come-
and pull up the slide? Thanks.
Okay, so we'll go back to the general government slide. And that's where we have identified the franchise fees there. So at Cogas, we are sitting at 27%. That gives us a revenue of $698,781. We can do any kind of increase. Each percent increase gives us approximately $25,000. If we move on to Fortis, we are at 17% with Fortis. The cap is 20, so we can go up 3 more percent. We're currently sitting at $1,882,000, and each percent increase will give us approximately $110,000.
Were you able to find, Director Vickers, a list of the communities?
Yeah, so I do have that is publicized, right?
Yeah,
So we do
yeah.
have the most current list
Okay.
of all those items. I will have to give me a minute to have a look. I'll just Google it. So, and what's your question? Would you like to know what certain municipalities are at, or what's?
You know, I think what I would like to see, I want Innisfil obviously to stay competitive, right? And
Okay.
I know our tax rates, I think, are extremely competitive, particularly our non-res. We have municipalities that are offering tax incentives for residential and non-residential. And personally, I'm not a huge believer in that, but I would like to see some comparisons between franchise fees, between residential, non-residential tax rates, even though we may not know what they are for 2025, kind of in the central Alberta area here.
Do you have specific municipalities you would like to see? So,
Well, I would say Sylvan, Blackfalds, Lacombe, Olds, Penhold, Red Deer County.
okay.
City of Red Deer. I don't know, can you build something out that shows franchise fees, that
Absolutely.
shows taxes, that also shows utilities?
Their utility rates? I can, that will take a bit of time,
I
but
know.
absolutely, yes, that can happen.
We'll be back at 1. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, whoa.
Just kidding. Even if you had it, if we're coming back again Friday.
Oh, yeah, Friday, I could probably have something for sure. Yep. Do you want any other statistics in there? Population, anything else? Do you want me to add the tax split, res, non-res on there too?
Sure.
Okay.
Is it easy to add in off-site levies? I know we've spoke about that before too, that we seem to be very on the low side with that, which is good from a competitive standpoint, but,
We have a uniform offsite, well, actually, we have 2
okay.
zones. Most other communities have multiple zones, so whether it's Red Deer County or the city of Red Deer, depending on what part of the city you're in, you pay different rates based on the infrastructure that's in those areas. So it is a bit more challenging to give you a straight up comparison. I think when I did do a slide when we came back a few months ago and talked about offsite levies that gave you a range, that we can pull that slide again, but.
Okay. Yeah, don't worry about it then if it's not, doesn't make any sense. And I guess also municipalities that are offering tax incentives. So I know Red Deer County, Olds has non-res for sure. I'm not sure about residential, but Penhold, I believe, has on residential. And
Do you want us to look into that as well? What kind of tax incentives? Okay. For the tax rates, just most current year. Okay.
well, unless they're published
Okay.
or in the news a little bit.
Yep. We should be able to go, are we concerned about the school mill rate, or can we focus only on the municipal mill rate? Because I should be able to generate some of that information from the Alberta, data, board, I guess, right? Some of that information will likely be there easily, specifically around taxation, so.
Yeah, well, I'd like to get two pieces of information on franchise fees. One is when the budget was presented, there was a significant increase of 25 over 24 that's already going to be realized. So I'd like to remember what that number is. It's somewhere around 150,000 or something. I can't remember, but that's already going to happen. And can you identify the source of that? Is it the way the franchise fees work that there's actually a slight increase to people, or is that all new builds? And
Okay, I'll look into that.
I'm just remembering I saw that there was a significant chunk, so I'd like to know the amount and the source. Thanks.
Okay. Okay, I'll have a look at that too as well.
And probably the answer is no, because if it was, you probably wouldn't have it in the budget. But is there a way of smoothing out some of those vehicle purchases where we're not, I think are we at 7 this year? Like 5 with plus the,
5
5
plus
in
a
a
trailer.
trailer, well, 4, because we can't, the peace officer truck, I think we need to purchase this year.
okay,
So we're down to 4, so spreading 4 out.
well, I don't know.
Yeah.
If possible, I don't want your crew to be stuck or,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, we can just add that in.
Come up.
It's possible, yeah. It's funded, like our fleet reserve is in there anyway. We are trying to just achieve that, but we can fluctuate a year if it just changes it one more year.
So flashing back to yesterday too, the $100,000 that we were potentially committing to economic development that was key to the grants, and that was quite a circle. Is there a way that we can show the potential grantees that we're committed to it, but us in our budget actually have it come out of reserves if we have to do it, because it sounds like it's kind of remote that it's going to happen? And if it does happen, then that $100,000, I'm sure we could handle it and raise that next year. If we took it out of reserves versus taking it as a budget item, which then becomes permanent.
I think
It's just a question.
financially, that's doable.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the things comes into the amount of work that goes into the preparation of the grant, like if we're not,
So we need some of the 100,000.
well, not necessarily some of that money, but do we want to do it or do we not want to do it, I guess is kind of the thing. 'Cause if we're going to put all the time and effort, and we have used some external consulting dollars to support some of the project preparation to date.
That question should exist whether or not we label it to reserves or whether we put it as part of the
Yeah,
budget.
as the funding source, instead of.
Yeah, just the
directed
funding source.
Taxation comes
Yeah.
from reserve.
Yeah,
If we get the grant, we're committing reserve allocation.
that's
If
where
you don't get
my-
the grant, then you have to
Yeah.
reconsider what you could do with anything with that $100,000.
yeah. If we could just get a picture of that. Because it's, again, I'm just looking for these 1% tax
That
increases
would
that you.
essentially save a 1% tax increase.
Right.
If we were able to pull from reserves, we're still not getting rid of the project.
No,
We're
no.
just funding it from a different way, absolutely.
Yeah, and
And
then if you're committing yourself to having to fund it next year.
And in fact, we are seeing that a larger induction into the general cap reserve from that payback, that larger payment from the garbage cart, so it really wouldn't be impactful to the general cap reserve in 1 year.
Or you could take it out of your maybe surplus.
We
We're
can,
already carrying over.
Yeah, we're already allocating 100.
yeah.
Everyone just bam. So,
But we can actually, can actually, from the surplus, reinvest 100,000 to the general cap to offset the budgeted number that we're gonna put in here, depending on what the amount of the surplus final number is, right?
I have a question about the aquatic center. So, since we're kind of at the point where we hope that we have a plan, we are gonna be able to push go on this project, do we still need a 2% tax increase to go into a savings account? Or do we figure it out with the debenture without that amount of money? And would that equate to a 2% tax increase anyways?
So Mayor Barclay, through to Councillor Wing, it does depend on if we're successful on that grant, are we doing the full 12 million or are we only doing our portion of 6 million? That would greatly impact what that debenture payment would be, and likely, I'd have to run some numbers, but likely we'd be very close to funding that payment amount for a $6 million loan payment. If we want to increase to $8 million, I'd have to run some numbers, but I'll give all options like that.
I would appreciate that, thank you.
Just a good question, but listening to the SLT in deliberation as they prepare the budget is maintain that 2% forever due to the shortfall of funding allocated for infrastructure. That's a yearly discussion, but it's already set up, but that's a bigger discussion, obviously.
I would agree. The 2%, you know, we talked about the zeros, the history of the zeros and where we were going with that. So, makes sense to me. And it comes down to the messaging, how you message it to our citizens. Thanks.
Mayor Barclay has already mentioned about the fleet replacement. Could we see maybe what the next few vehicles down the road to be replaced are, maybe like for 3 years out, just so we can kind of evaluate what you've got in there and post?
Yeah, I can give you 10 years.
Okay.
We've got a 10-year plan. So.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I just want to reiterate for the Aquatic Center, provide a couple of different funding options, short and long-term funding payments with the grant, without the grant, just so that we kind of understand what our different options could be. And that could change depending on the grant. Hopefully, everything works out, but it doesn't. I've also heard refunding from reserves for that economic development grant. Okay, is there any other things that council would like to make changes to or ask us to go and back and review? I do have that big sheet for taxes and franchise fees coming. That will take me a little bit of time to work on that, so that won't be done today likely, but because a lot of that, unfortunately, we'll have to probably reach out to people, and we're kind of likely be waiting on what our response back is.
Can someone refresh, where did we end up landing on the TVs? Are we going to potentially ditch the two side and just look at options for the one large one back here, potentially TV and projector? Because sorry,
We could only do a projector if we do something
Yeah,
to,
yeah.
to plug this up, right?
Yeah.
Either permanently or semi-permanent that we can move back and forth. Yeah.
because, I don't know, I feel it's such a small gallery, and that's, even if it's a 135, it's gonna be smaller than that, but like,
Yep, that's,
yeah, exactly, like, so I personally, and I mean, if that's an $18,000 saving there, like, so I'd like to see those gone.
Can we auction those off for man caves?
Did you want one? Do you want one?
yeah.
I think I said that they're probably 10 years, but.
They're 10 years old.
Well, are they though? Look at the building, this opened in 16, didn't it? 15 or 16?
7.
I think there's a
Just over
plaque out there.
25 next year.
I thought it was 16.
Yeah, I started here August
Probably.
17 and it opened up in July.
Yeah, so they're not even that old and it's already obsolete.
I don't even know if they have remotes, right? Like, they're just, they would just be that. Yeah.
Hooked up as side units for the projector in the library.
I will be honest, the communications manager will have better words to say on why or why not we need those TVs there.
I do notice the gallery looking.
Yeah, they do tend to look there over and above than
Yeah,
there.
but they probably look up here if that's all there was to look at though. I mean,
Yeah, they'd be forced to, yeah.
well, of course they would.
Yeah.
Just a few from yesterday too, just when I'm going through some of my notes, make sure we have it captured based on what we're talking about today. Council, we can add in other notes that we have, but what I heard yesterday, today is residential versus non-res evaluation.
Yeah, so what the tax split is between res and non-res for total assessment. So I have that, I'll put that
Okay.
on my spreadsheet for,
Okay, tracking of election costs, which we talked about, computer maintenance budget, breakdown of the apps, water consumption data,
we did that yesterday, yeah.
check, facade infill program data,
We did that too.
Southwest Industrial lending rate. Talk about that today
Yeah.
too. Question about the websites functioning and should it be taken down? Camp house operational cost breakdown, future council meeting. Show the franchise fee comparisons, which we talked about again today. Council pay in lieu comparisons for your budgets.
Yeah, so really just the breakdown of their independent budgets, what those values are at, and bring in their hours, just so that now that we're tracking specific hours for council, just bring in that data so they can see where they're sitting at now.
There's chat about insurance, and I do a review 2025 as a project.
Do we have a number for COLA that we can confirm this afternoon as well?
Well, COLA that's currently sitting in budget is 2%.
Okay, good, but is that confirmed? Like, is that, because, I mean, we talked yesterday about, well, there's a new number as of yesterday, or is that a national number or a provincial
CPI.
number?
So the number that, when we put in 2%, it was actually 1.6. So we put in 2, and then yesterday morning, it did come out that it has moved to 2. So we're at where it's at right now. Yeah, yeah.
There's,
And that's 2% for Canada, not for Alberta. Alberta is a bit higher than that.
there's indication of some of our systems challenges, Diamond, for example. So
Yes,
that's a
and our phone
future.
system.
Yeah.
Yes, Diamond and our phone system.
I think we talked about today, Ledger County water, wastewater rates. I think it'll come in some of our comparison data.
Yep.
Explore the possibility of lessening the organic rates or cards within the winter. I think that's on to Stephen, Director. Then moving into the lease versus purchase of chambers, technical equipment. And then, of course, monitoring of the costs associated with all of this. Explore projects for 2025 or 2026, sorry, for LLC sound projector. concept for Main Street lots, short and long-term vision. Going into the Aquatic Center and Southwest Napoleon, the venture information, and payback comparisons. Franchise fee comparisons and all the chat we had recently, tax rate comparisons, et cetera. Can we spread out the vehicles, which Director indicated will show the 10-year plan. And then, of course, chat about the funding source for the grant for economic development. If there's anything more from everybody's list? Sure.